What's up, guys? So today we're doing something real special. So we are actually in I'm in Australia, and this is Byron Bay, right? I'm in Byron Bay, cool place. But today we're gonna do something really cool. So a lot of my videos, I've done stuff on psychology. Wow.
See,
Okay.
and what about for ducks? Psychology of a duck.
Psychology of a duck.
You just walk around with a duck.
Well, it's
That's
my duck.
amazing. Does he have a name?
She.
Does she have a name?
I don't know, quack. I don't know, little quacker.
2 hours later.
Oh.
All right, back to you. Grab it, come on.
Good.
Yeah,
There you go.
grab it.
Thank you. You made my day. So a lot of the videos that I make are on, right, the mind, the psychology, the heart. But I feel like we have to expand that, right, into the body, right? Because if your body's not right, your mind's not right. It's a holistic system. So today, we're gonna get some blood work done. There's an old saying in science, and that is, how would you know unless you look? So how do I know if I'm healthy? You know, I look healthy. But how do I know unless I look? Unless I look at, you know, my blood glucose levels, my the minerals in my blood, the levels, all of that good stuff. So let's do that today. Let's check it out.
Sounds disgusting.
Yeah.
Bobby, take a seat in the waiting room. I'll get your drink. You've got 10 minutes to down it. And then I'll call you back in an hour.
Awesome.
You got 10 minutes to down that. That's
Okie
just
dokie.
pure sugar.
Ouch.
So like one sip per minute.
Pure sugar.
Pure sugar. I want to see what's going to happen when you
When I drink this?
whole bottle
God.
of sugar water. Here, cheers.
Bottoms up. Man, this drink is intense.
Did you ever watch Men in Black?
Yeah.
The cockroach man that
They
just
kept
drinks
drinking
sugar water.
sugar water.
Give me sugar.
That's funny. I haven't had soda maybe 3 years. Never had a cup of coffee in my life.
What?
Yep. Fun fact. Never ever had a cup of coffee.
For the vlog, would you
Drink some coffee?
the first
I
couple
don't
of
know, and then I might get addicted or something. Start Joe like, yo, this feels good. Okay, another hour. Deal. And then that's like almost done. And then one more blood test, and that's.
So, yeah, one more blood test. So basically with the glucose that you just took, it was 75 grams of glucose. And then, so we take a baseline of you fasting, we give you the glucose. It should elevate and peak at, you know, at
Right.
10, and then come back down. If it doesn't come back down sufficiently, or if it keeps going up, that's an indicator that you've got glucose intolerance.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okie dokie.
No worries.
Wonderful. All right, that's a wrap. So the samples are being sent to the lab. We're gonna check everything out, and in about 1 week, we're gonna get the results. But we don't wanna have to wait that long. Let's travel through time. Boom. Okay, I've traveled through time, and now I'm sitting here with, what do we call you? Just Dr. Oscar? I know you as Oscar. What do people call you?
Well, Oscar's fine, but most people know me as Dr. Oscar Saralak.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got my blood work, all the information, all the cool stuff. And I didn't tell everybody, but this is the first time I've ever gotten blood work done. So I'm intrigued,
Wow.
fascinated, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how I did.
Great. Well, let's start. And I'm going to talk a little bit about blood tests first, because blood tests aren't the be and the end all in terms of looking at someone's well-being, but they're a pretty good look at things. So yeah, we'll start at the top. So, and we've got a fair bit to sort of go through here.
Okay.
The first one here is insulin-like growth factor. So this is the best test to look at growth hormone. Now, growth hormone changes so much that it's actually very hard to look at that on a blood test. So this is kind of the substitute sort of test, and it's not only within range, but actually in a really sort of healthy range.
Okay.
Growth hormone is only made when we're asleep, and it's actually much more than about growth. It kind of gives us some information about how are your stem cells doing and just general sort of well-being. So this is a really important test.
Okay.
Another hormone test here. So this was testosterone. So your overall testosterone level's pretty good, and your free testosterone. So free testosterone is what's available. So with a lot of these hormone tests, there's an overall level. So it's like money in the bank, and then there's a free level, which is what's available, and that's like money in the wallet. So you don't have to kind of withdraw from that. And so we're looking at how the bank's doing and how the wallet's doing. And so for testosterone, both of those are doing quite well. And your free testosterone's ideal range is about 300 to 500. Yours is 400. So it's just perfect.
Okay. Okay. Awesome.
Yes! Yes!
And that's something we see a lot in our society with these kind of low normal testosterone, way before men should be experiencing sort of low testosterone. So it's just people think testosterone is about libido and bravado, and it's so much more than that. It's about how do I feel in my skin, and how do I feel about sort of moving into the world and being away from my nest or my home. If you have low testosterone, it's a lot harder to be away from your home environment. Interestingly, so.
Oh, interesting.
And it's also about muscle mass and just about health within the system. So that's good. So this next test is insulin. So fasting insulin, I think, is one of the best longevity markers. So it's looking at your body's ability to be able to handle sugar. Sugar is what makes us age if we have too much of it in our system.
Right.
Because of this pickling effect, that if there's too much sugar around, it kind of pickles our body more quickly and really contributes to aging. And so fasting insulin is a really good test to go, well, how is my body responding to that? And your insulin is actually quite low. So no signs of insulin resistance, and this is kind of almost a test for pre-diabetes. So no signs of that.
Okay.
You're obviously not a huge sugar eater or sugar binger because of the low insulin, but again, I think this should be part of people's regular workup.
Yeah.
Rather than waiting for diabetes to
set
occur.
in, yeah.
And in Australia, I'm not too sure of the statistics in America, but in Australia, 50% of adults above the age of 50, so half the population, have diabetes. And half of them don't even know they've got the diagnosis, so they're kind of... So it's a major issue and a major thing that we can be really sort of supporting.
So tests like this are good to just know, where you're at.
Where are you heading?
Where you're heading.
Yeah, we call it a health trajectory. So where are you heading? So rather than waiting for the car to leave the road, you can do some work to sort of assess how your car's actually travelling on the road. And this next one is thyroid. It's got one job to do, and that goes to every cell every morning and goes, this is how much money you're allowed to spend. Simple job, super important. Thyroid is a bit of an anomaly in terms of all the other hormones, in terms of how it's made and how it's regulated. There's a disease range, and then there's kind of an ideal range. The ideal range is between 1 and 2. Yours is 1.1 in terms of the TSH, the brain talking to thyroid. And then T3, which is what your body feels. Again, money in the wallet hormone. Right in the middle, ideal.
I have exorcised the demon.
Again, that tends to be much more of an issue for females than for males, but we're seeing more and more thyroid issues earlier and earlier.
Gotcha. What do you think is causing that? Just stress, diet?
Stress, diet, lack of sleep, and again, this whole, we're designed for stress on, stress off.
Son, what
For tens of thousands of years, this has been our healthy. We're not designed for stress on, stress on.
That's it.
And ongoing stress has significant down regulation of certain sort of things. Thyroid is one of them. When I was a student, I'd never seen a teenager with a thyroid issue unless they were born with a thyroid issue. But now I'm seeing more and more teenagers with thyroid issues. So there's kind of a tidal shift in not only hormone disease, but also hormone dysfunction. So what happens before a disease process sort of sets up. And the last test that we have today is zinc. The best test for zinc is plasma zinc. It's not the be and the end all, but zinc is so important, especially for a man's well-being, for virility, for immune function, for mental stability, those kind of things. Now your level at 11 is actually quite low, even though it's within the reference range, but this is one of the things I've seen the reference range kind of marching. You'd want it ideally 15 or so.
Okay.
So we need to look at where do you get zinc from in your diet, which is a challenge because our soils are so depleted. Australia has lost about 50% of zinc in its soils. America, the United States, on average, has lost about 80% of zinc in its soils, just because of all the poor farming practices of not giving back to the soil. So even a mouthful of that nowadays compared to 100 years ago is not the same in terms of that nutrient density. And so
What do you think about oysters?
well, yeah, oysters are the superfood. I mean, they're just so way above the chart in terms of other things. But you have to like oysters, and if you're going to have them as kind of a supplement, and it's kind of my joke, if I sort of prescribe 6 oysters a day, you're not going to see me in a couple of months, so because you don't want to come back. It's like, I'm so sick of these things. But they're the superfood. Definition of a superfood is something that's unnaturally high in that particular mineral or series of minerals or vitamins. And the idea of nutrient density, that you're getting much more out of one mouthful of something than out of a mouthful of something else. Now, iron's really interesting. They've taken the worst grown spinach and the best grown spinach. Looks exactly the same. 1,500-fold difference in the amount of iron. So you'd have to have 1,500 mouthfuls of that spinach to get the same amount of iron out of one mouthful of that spinach. So when people say, yeah, spinach is great for iron, it's like, yeah, but which spinach are we talking about?
Gotcha.
So farming practices are a big part of that. And zinc, when it's in plants, can be very bound to the plant by phytates, and so it can be very hard to get that zinc out, and it essentially just passes through us. So this is where activating nuts and seeds or grinding them down is really sort of important, because nuts and seeds are another really sort of good source of zinc if you're looking at non-meat. And there is zinc found in animal products as long as the soil from those animals are eating plants from has enough sort of zinc in there. So these deficiencies can go up the food chain. And what's fascinating for me is that a lot of this, what we know about sort of human health in terms of nutrition and functional medicine, comes from veterinary science. Because the vets know exactly when an animal is deficient in something, that they need some selenium or molybdenum, and they have these blocks of salt that they'll leave out for their animals so they can get those sort of things. We don't have that kind of thinking necessarily, and we kind of then take a little bit of everything called a multivitamin, which I'm not a big fan of. But zinc, so I'm not necessarily saying supplement in zinc, but I'm certainly saying be aware that zinc is low, not super low, but it is a pretty key sort of player.
In conclusion,
For males, especially for well-being.
Well-being, for virility, for sperm health, and for immune function. So if you're traveling a lot, you're getting exposed to a lot of from viruses from all over the globe rather than just from your community, and so zinc is just an important illness preventer, I believe. well, certainly part of illness prevention. It's not,
Right.
not obviously the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so any questions about that? We've kind of jumped from one thing to another. And this is kind of a foundational sort of starting point. So it's not like I said, it's not like it's we know everything about you
Right.
from a health and well-being point of view.
Right.
But it's a great sort of foundation, and then that can dovetail really nicely into any sort of other further functional testing or genetic testing, or specifically to what your health goals are. So a big part of my work is essentially setting a wish list of what is it that you're wanting to improve about your health and your well-being.
That's great.
Because then we can interpret the test.
Okay.
Because of being less allergic's not on your wish list, then we can ignore some of those allergy tests to some degree.
Gotcha. That's beautiful.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a picture. It's I wanted to get a picture of kind of where I was. I'd never gotten it before. So, there's an old saying, I'm sure you've heard it, how do you know unless you look?
Yeah,
And we
exactly.
looked, and this gives me a better picture. It gives me ideas that I can supplement into kind of what I'm doing. And obviously I'm going to consult you further.
And just to be aware of, where our Achilles heels, as it were, because if you don't test, you sort of don't know.
Don't know. You don't know. That's it.
Great.
Thank you. All right. Well, that's about it, guys. See you next time. We're out of here.